point number two, you've got to save the franchisees that are in financial distress. Now, in any big group, there were always a couple of franchisees that were battling a little bit, and you could work with them. But since COVID, there's many, many franchisees that are currently in financial distress. Now, what does that mean? It means that you've got to be proactive. The more mature franchisees or franchisors have made sure that each franchisee has a budget, and they actually have sight of the franchisee's income and expenditure every month. And by doing that, they can come up with and see the franchisees that are battling. And what we do with that, we put the franchisee to what we call intensive care, and we develop an intensive care program, which would entail sort of going and trying to get rent reduction, getting the suppliers to giving them extended credit, looking at more local marketing, doing more training, and you can actually look at a very successful program for intensive care. And by doing intensive care, you alert all the staff in the franchisor that that franchisee is a problem, and it gives you the opportunity to visit the franchisee and say to him, we're concerned about your business and we're putting you into intensive care. Now, it works fantastically from my point of view, because if you're not doing that, when you do find out the franchisee is battling, one of your suppliers will phone you and say, your franchisee hasn't paid me. And when you go into that business, it's too late. You find that they're behind on VAT, they haven't paid their rent, they're behind on paying the suppliers. And at that point, it's too late to do a lot about them. You have to be proactive and find it ahead of time. Now, the other thing that's important there is it might come to a case where you can't fix that franchise. And very often it's because that franchisee is not suitable or he's not putting his heart and soul into the business. And at that point, you have to stop the bleeding. So it's very important at that point that you actually go to the franchisee and say, look, you're not enjoying it. You're not doing well. Let me try and help you find another franchisee. And very often what is happening in the current environment, we are finding that successful franchisees are becoming multi-unit franchisees. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as they don't own too many. Now, you might find an experienced franchisee close to that franchisee that's battling, and very often they will take over that business and turn it around. So you've got to watch those franchisees that are in financial distress at the moment. So that is something that's probably number two. Number three,